Massive thanks to the currently 396 patrons as of writing this, although when you see it, it will be higher no doubt. If you want to support me, please ignore active members. That number means nothing. Check the pinned comment as I'll always keep that updated, and please help us get to 450 patrons. That number means never going on to hiatus again. Thank you so much. That's actually a really nice looking shot and well done shot to start off the episode, I think. Gotta love his constantly upbeat and happy-go-lucky attitude. Must be lovely with him on the high seas. This guy perfectly performing his job of reminding the viewer what dangers await our crew in this new arc. I do like this aspect to him. It's like he doesn't worry about things he can't alter until he can alter them. Personally, I think it was a stroke of genius to inject the different races into the anime at this early junction. Imagine how weird it'd be to find out they exist at like episode 786 or whatever. What Luffy thinks they might look like. At the same time, it feels like a great moment to reveal more about the wider world via this lore drop regarding the 7 pirate leaders of the sea acknowledged by the world government. One Piece continues to build the power structure here by introducing these strong 7 pirates, but then mentioning how Mihawk is one of them gives us a much better understanding of the other's strength. Whilst funny, this wasn't getting a win until Sanji pointed that out. Firstly, I find it really unique that an anime like this features a cook, but secondly, I like how his cooking aspect is being used right away and he's happily heading off to make some grub. Naturally, they give us a gorgeous looking bird's eye view of this place as we get close. Another new location with another new feel, vibe and look to it. Our first look at Arlong. During the last arc I made mention to the cooks all looking different as well as Krieg's pirates, and right away here we get the merman looking completely unique as well. I wrote the last win and then I thought to myself, I just have to drop another right away for how unique looking he is. Shockingly, Arios McLean from the Trails Crossbell games, Kira from JoJo's Diamond is Unbreakable, the Wizard King from Black Clover and Griffith in the original Berserk, and so much more. Big fan here. Not walking on the spot for quite some time. Also, though, another Nami-related ding. Also, the wind once again just doing its thing like it should be. Nami showing a different side to herself here, but in her mind, absolutely saving this kid's life. But also, I loved that animation on the money throw getting closer to the screen. Looked real good. To be honest, just feels real good to see these 3 again, but especially Zoro and Usopp. I already really am enjoying how we're split into 3 groups and seeing things from each perspective. Zoro continues to be a badass, even after losing badly to Mihawk, but now he's back and full of vigor again. At the same time though, these guys understand he'd be leading them into an impossible to win situation, and so tie him up and actually make a plan instead. Oh, you know I've been loving me some detailed looking maps!
地の年に足を踏み入れんとする俺の勇姿にキャプテンウソップの大冒険とタイトルは大丈夫ですかい？よし
Usopp being Usopp in his usual quite charming and funny way. It's interesting, really. Having a race like this makes for a completely different kind of danger to humans who wouldn't normally consider swimming to attack like that. At least not so far. How they write him off so quickly, but then move on equally as fast. Another location with totally different looking buildings and whatnot. Man, I didn't even notice the buildings were upside down, but mainly the win is for this little law drop. I am consistently flabbergasted at how the studio kept on animating sequences like this. That's a ding right there if I've ever seen one. How, just like with the little kid, she stops him from fighting knowing that he will lose that battle. It's a short scene, but it shows how intelligent she is, and how she's already learnt to survive among them. Showing him actually cooking their food. It's really nice to hear them talking this way about the whole group and about Nami, especially since it's one of my personal favourite things, everyone together eating and talking. This overhead shot was a lovely way to show the size of that creature from the Grand Line. It's interesting that the racers clearly don't all get along. Makes for some intriguing battles down the line, no doubt. It's obviously surprising that she's saying he's merely someone she tricked, but clearly there's more to it than that. But mainly I'm just shocked that again they animate her through the scene. Okay, now that previously mentioned surprising element can have its own win. Wow! A new ED is upon us, and it's an even better one than the last. The song is better, to my mind, and the animation is gorgeous throughout, seeing them as kids growing up and everyone of importance. How long this scene goes on is literally what gets it a win. For the first time seeing our first creature from the Grand Line, and to say I'm impressed would be an understatement. I liked this purely because it shows the power of Luffy versus a creature from the Grand Line. Again, it's that consistently building power structure going down. At the same time, Sanji himself is doing the same thing as the last win, so take one for him too. Same voice actress as Nami. Her words might not be the nicest, but she's stating pure facts about them having saved him twice now. Oda being all like, no, I hate exposition, just take a tasty little nugget of a puzzle piece instead, I love him. Also take one here for Usopp staying true to his character and trying to stick up for the kid here, clearly seeing in him the crew he left behind at home. A nice little plot twist there, although I did expect it when I saw she voiced both of them, but still. Man, that's a nice little touch to make her home feel truly lived in. Whoa! I expected something telling from her as a response to that, but that was great! I also like how it's not outright said, but he clearly looked at that facial response and noted it. Feels very much like a test for Nami to see where her loyalties truly lie, but it's risky as hell and definitely a plot twist. Good on Nami for proving both of us right and diving in after him. In its own way, this is actually kind of genius from him. I do like it. Oh, how I love his telling of the story without outright saying anything. All they gotta show us is a grave, and we already know what they've done to this village. Oh, then this is equally as good for world building. It's like telling a story without actually doing it. They don't trounce in, no, you've been under our thumb for 3 years and blah blah blah. Already painting the picture of just how bad of a bad guy he is, even worse than Krieg, I'd say. Moments such as this and what happened at the pool were ones you couldn't really do without to sell her as being someone who could rejoin the crew after this arc, so really nice job. Exactly what I meant by win number 718. You allow this comment to naturally be made because she called him selfish, so it organically follows rather than spitting it out randomly at some point. I have no clue how long it'll last for, whether the animators eventually got bogged down, but I'm so impressed that everyone looks different all the time. Truly unique characters everywhere. This guy and his actions are great because he's thinking with his head and not his heart, and he's right. You lose yourself here and fight, you're all gone versus these foes, and then that's it for your lives. The single most badass thing Usopp has done to date. Someone in my comments was saying he's a coward. A coward would never ever do anything close to this when it mattered. He's a damn legend. And I just want to say, the fact that he's clearly scared here shouldn't get mixed up with being a coward. He's showing true strength in this moment. I love him for it. Showing the intense strength this guy has. No one has been anything close to this to date. It's amazing to see the animator still doing fantastic looking destruction animation. One thing I always appreciate about this story is how towns and villages have some sense to them. He's the sheriff, there's a doctor, in other towns there was a restaurant, and so on. Now her full intentions come out and they're very honourable. It also makes perfect sense why she hates pirates, and whilst I wrongly credited the grave she's at to a lack of exposition showing that people in the village have been taken out instead of saying it, I'll keep that win as she was still taken out by Arlong. Reminding us how strong Zoro is and at the same time still building that power structure, because as much as Arlong claims his lot are better in every way, Zoro clearly beat the riffraff here. How they're using the sea cow to get to Arlong Park even quicker. These are the kinds of super unique angles and shots they've been doing since the first few episodes, and I really enjoy them. Dude, seriously, how awesome is it that they actually made the webbing here half see-through? The kind of character building I love, because seeing him at home in that early arc running away from the village people all the time really sells his ability to now run away from them effectively. I see now what people are talking about earlier on, about him using techie type stuff to always get the upper hand. Also though, the callbacks to his earlier techniques of pretending he's got allies. Oh, you can just about see his hair from the front view. Follow-up example of what I mentioned before about new dangers, since this guy easily swims across after him here. How he's having a super casual conversation with an enemy without the enemy even knowing about it. Makes for an interesting contrast between him and Krieg. He really hates and looks down on humans, but loves his own people. Krieg hated anyone who questioned his orders or he saw as weak. It's also very intriguing how most people aren't just known everywhere. They'd heard of Zoro, had never seen him, so now knowing it's him they captured is naturally a massive shock. Even these guys, having only just met him, are like, really? You're telling such an obvious lie? Personally, I find her actions here to be in keeping with her character, but also the best for the story, to continue to seem as though she's on their side, not running off since she's been discovered. Can I just point out how great it is to make Arlong so non-one-dimensional as a villain? Since not only did he take Nami on as part of his crew, he genuinely cares for her in spite of her being human. A prime example of how these characters act like people and not tropes that make up their being. All he's concerned about is quickly being hard on himself and then heading off to save Usopp. Consistently showing her true feelings coming through in times like these, but also her again saving one of their lives in the process since he was about to try and attack them. Art style change here, really selling her darker vibe. So clearly I don't know what's going to happen next, but take Max wins for this god level plot twist. I figured she'd be like, oh no, he got away, not do this. That's fantastic. He and his buddy are further great examples of an earlier win that I mentioned about side characters in an arc getting a lot of screen time, and how I appreciate that greatly. Oda continues to impress me with how well he handled his characters' backgrounds and told those stories. How they did that zooming out shot there. And now finally, for the first time in quite a long while, everyone from their crew is winding up at the exact same location. Hype! Going first person like it's no big deal. How they did everyone shock at hearing the news and changed the colour slightly to really have it make an impact. The studio continuously knocking it out of the park when deciding where to end an episode, I swear. Luffy in this moment clearly struggling with the notion that he could be wrong in his gut about someone he chose to trust. Big credit to the voice actor for carrying that across too.
ナミがウソップを殺すわけねえだろうが俺たちは仲間だぞ
Smooth looking rotating shot.
誰が仲間だってルフィ。ナミ何しに来たの。何言ってんだよ。
Honest to God, this is a huge plot twist as well. Oda really seems to write his story away from the normal way they'd go. I don't think any other writer would place her here right now.
ああ、クールなお顔もなんて魅力的。はーい、ナミさん、俺だよ、俺、覚えてる
How he's essentially skipped over everything she's just said about being a traitor and focused on how hot he finds her to be.
剣士ってのはレディーにも手あげんのか。屈辱の敗戦の後とあっちゃイラつきもするか。
Two wins. Firstly, it's interesting to see fellow crew members nearly come to blows over this issue. But secondly, how they're both very cool customers, and so having them be cool around one another is kind of cool. Does that make sense?
何でも探しに行けばいいじゃない。さっさと出てけ。目障りなのよ。
Putting aside everything else right now, she's definitely 100% concerned for their safety on this island.
島を出る気はねえし、この島で何が起きてんのかも興味ねえし。
How can he seriously be such a deep and unique character though?
俺たち助かるんだ。この島から逃げられるんだ。
They do so much without words. He's so happy and smiling, yet even here, seeing the ship, she's got a look of concern and caution on her face at what's coming.
これよりアーロンとその一味を殲滅する。直ちに戦闘準備に入れ。はい。
Although, as a massive shock to me, they really seem to be there to rescue them and take out Arlong. I didn't see this coming at all. It's a big twist.
いきなり撃ってきやがった。アーロンさん危ねえ。
Would be the height of silliness to ignore the fact that he chopped on a cannonball from their ship like this.
我々は多少なりとも名の通った海軍きっての精鋭部隊である。
Shockingly, it's again Endeavour from My Hero Academia and doing a totally different type of voice to the recent chef in the last arc.
よし、そのあたりだ、ハチ。おお。
The best example yet of an earlier win, where I said about how different fighting them could end up being, and here we go. They really do a lot of their fighting in the water naturally. Whilst their time was brief, I enjoyed it. It shows the power of those three elites. It shows not all Marines were on the take, and it shows a darker side to the anime with all of them taken out.
これが現実だよ。
And now the look of concern on her face earlier makes perfect sense, as she's likely seen years of rescuers brought to the bottom of the sea, so all hope is gone from her now.
それが8年前のあいつとの約束だ。俺は金の上の約束は死んでも守る男よ。
Whether or not he follows through with that in the end, it should be highlighted that, for now at least, it's another aspect to him that makes him very non-one-dimensional.
この島に残る理由あるさ。あいつがここに残ってる。
I swear he's such a cool character, how he says he has a reason to stay on the island right now because Luffy is staying on it, basically saying he's the reason to stick around on there for now. How many parts of the scene they made the wind effect?
あの時
Obviously, I knew he'd still be alive, but the fact that he's still alive still gets a win, you feel me?
あの時ナミが俺を刺したと見せかけて自分の手の甲を刺した。
They get max wins for this. It'd be one thing if it was some clever way she did it, stabbing a pouch with something that looks like blood or whatever, but hitting her own hand, that's max wins. That was pretty funny, but mainly it's because the crew is almost entirely back together, save for Nami.
ウソップー！お前これナミにやられたのか！
来てたのか。
なあ、さっきな。
I can't get over how quickly he goes from yelling like this to being super calm.
ちょっと休みに来ただけで、いちいちガラスや家具壊されたんじゃたまんないよ。
So much is shown via facial reactions. She's well aware of the stress and strain Nami is under, so instead of losing her temper here, she calmly accepts it and talks to her.
一緒に旅してる間楽しそうに笑ってたって。
あんたのそんな姿何年も見てないのにね。
An important thing to note, that she's hiding nothing emotion-wise from her over the years. She's been unhappy, which is natural, but when sailing with them, she laughed and was happy.
やったー、上がりー。
くそ、またナミの一人勝ちかよって。
Taking the time to show one of those nice memories that she has.
よし、任せろ。
I was just going to include that alongside the previous win, but honestly, I felt like it deserved its own in the end. That beautiful music, and of course seeing the events which caused her to question her feelings towards all pirates.
誰だ？
ナミのお姉ちゃんだ。
ナミさんのお姉様、さすがお綺麗だ。
Sanji and I are actually a lot alike, so it seems.
ほらいい。
おい。
あいつの過去になんか興味ね。
どこ行くんだよ、ルフィ。
散歩。
I struggled to think of a better example of Luffy walking his own path. He's just a guy rather than a character with a series of repeatable tropes that make him up. Didn't have to animate that, but they did it anyway.
あの人はこの村にいた。ナミと私が生涯忘れぬ人。彼女の名はベルメール。
Excellent end to the episode. Once again, an amazing job is done of setting up the next episode, but most importantly for this win, it's finally learning about Nami's past. I'm so ready!
なんだ、あれか、巨人ってのは。
He's so very casual about the whole thing though. Also says so much about him that he's like, nope, I'm not going to break my stride. Do something if you want to do it or don't.
お前誰だ？この島で何してるんだ？
そんなこと聞いてどうすんだ。
それもそうだ。お前の言う通りだ。なんか笑えるやつだな。
I like this guy a lot. He makes for really interesting interactions in spite of being an enemy, and it's not that he's dumb or anything, he's just living life and interacting with people normally.
もう少しだよ、ベルメールさん。
How this is beautifully used to trigger her early and fond memories here. Baby Nami!
あとはあの本を調べれば。
Follow up to win number 728, where I mentioned how these towns have actual substance to them, as here we obviously have a library.
猫じゃないんだから。
バカったれ。物を取っちゃいかんと何度言わせるんだ。
Not only is it wonderful being able to see her childhood, but this time it's even better because so many of those characters are still alive in the present like him.
なーに、うっさいわね。
Xiaonark from Hunter x Hunter!
ベルメール。
ありがとね。今お金がないの。今度払うわ。
Well, you can't exactly blame the guy, can you? She can have one too.
私ならもっとうまく盗んでくるのに。だから盗むなっつ。そうだよ、私は。こんな小さな子が書いたなんて誰も思わないよ。
Just a nice way of showing how the girls were being brought up well by her. She scolded Nami when she needed it, but she gave them everything they needed too, like offering to buy her the book.
私は私の航海術で世界中の海を旅するの。そして自分の目で見た世界地図を作るんだ。
And now Nami enters a prior win where I said about all of them finding their own reasons for entering the Grand Line. They really do all have a reason now.
必ず夢を叶えるよ。きっと。
This anime has some seriously unique shots and they keep on showcasing them and making your boy happy as anything.
嘘ばっかり。うちはお金がないから。ベルメールさんの分がないんでしょ。
Oh, I'm starting to sense the coming sadness where she's not eating in order to allow for them to eat because they haven't got any money. Man, Oda and his stories.
はいはい。似合うじゃないナミ。このライオン前はひまわりだった。だって仕方ないでしょ。
Just such a clever way of reinforcing the last twin, that she was doing her best to give these kids the greatest life they could have, whilst painting it as though they have no money issues.
でも本当の妹じゃないじゃない。私たち血は繋がってないもん。ベルメールさんだって本当のお母さんじゃないじゃない。いいわよ、勝手にしなさい。そんなにこの家が嫌ならどこへでも出ていくといいわ。出てくわよ。
Then seeing that everything wasn't great all the time between them, but it also wasn't kids being annoying as a cliche. Nami was talking about if she wasn't there, she'd be able to eat. Between that music and the visuals, it just made me smile getting to see what this lovely town looked like before Arlong. Such a nice touch to add these wanted posters for Krieg and Buggy.
村の外れからここへ来るのが家出か。ほら、冷めないうちに。
Moments such as these make you understand why everyone loves the guy so much and stood up for him earlier on. Also at the same time, makes me personally so happy he survived then.
その悪ガキが海兵になると言い出した時には村中驚いたっけ。
ベルメールさんは海兵だったの？
Such an organic way to relay this information to us.
何の罪もない人々を殺戮する海賊が許せない。そう言って村を飛び出して生きよった。
Actually taking the time to then show us a little of her backstory as a Marine as well. Oh, how she summoned the strength to move, having just given up, after faintly hearing and seeing those surviving kids.
妹。知らない子。
Also, what it says about her, that even as a very young child, she decided to help a baby Nami at the time.
人の気も知らないで。
Oh man, here we go. How he does backstory so damn well, I have no clue. Well played.
船だぞ。こんな嵐の夜に一体どこの誰だ。この子たちは一体。
ドクター、ひどい熱なの。
How she truly went above and beyond to get herself and these kids back to safety is so damn admirable.
お願い、死なせないで。その子たちを助けて。お願いだから。
Making me tear up again with how selfless she was being here. And for the voice acting prowess. Max wins.
悪いこと言わんから政府の施設に預けなさいよ。
もう決めたの。この子たちは私が責任を持って育てる。私はこの子たちと生きていく。
Never expected to be able to see the whole thing? That's the blessing of an anime this size. Nothing is cut due to a lack of time. We needed to see this, her making the call to raise them. How they did this reflection bit so well, but also how the kids made up and headed out put a smile on my face.
あの子らの成長が今では我々みんなの楽しみのようなもんだ。
あの一家3人が幸せになるのを見届けなくちゃ気が済まねえよ。
Just getting to see that the town didn't hate any of them. In fact, they loved them and are happy that they've made a life as a part of their town. Absolutely genius to cut into the laughter, the sound of the waves crashing as they arrive.
与えろ。幸いまだ村に一人も犠牲者はいない。金で事足りるならば安いと見るべきか。
How this guy was worrying about everyone in the exact same way 8 years back, working hard to save all of their lives.
あれは民家からの煙だい。
Like, I already know what happens, but it's so good, it's still filling me with dread all the same.
ベルメールさんが殺されちゃう。
Continuing that tradition of ending the episodes in absolutely the greatest positions ever.
空いてるでしょ。どうぞ。
Wow now, that was 400% more badass than I thought it'd be. I figured she'd be a classic victim right then and there, but no, she comes out like this! 2 max wins for genuinely shocking me.
何がおかしい。
Half the win is for making me feel terrible about her losing the advantage almost right away, but the other half is for the destruction effects yet again. Pieces flying everywhere.
このまま裏口からついて逃げよう。でももう海賊が来てるかも。
What legend decided to do this first person that actually had her speeding up ahead of her sister?
ドクター。こいつら本物の化け物だ。
意義のない戦いもある。金で解決できる問題もある。
さん。
おい、3人分の食事が用意してあるぜ。
ほほう、3人家族。
I mean, what can I even say? I feel sick to my stomach seeing her arm getting mangled like that. He steps in to save her, essentially in a stealthy way. He learns she has kids. Max wins.
忘れるところだった。
え？
今日は私と友人の2人が夕食に招待されていたんだったな。
This guy is a total legend. I'll be honest, this line never even once occurred to me. What a guy.
こいつは独り身だ。
まだ小さいお前たちには海へ出るのは無茶だとは思う。万が一のこともあるやもしれん。
私この村に住んでたよ。
The story is the best for how it makes me feel. Like, I totally feel for these kids. Their entire lives uprooted here, no matter what the outcome ended up being. That's how he makes me feel.
その10万は2人の娘の分。私のは足りないよ。そりゃ確かに血のつながりはないけどさ、家族なんだ。
お前たち
Oh no. I get it now. She gave up her life so that her daughters wouldn't have to leave the island alone. She was a real mother in the end by how she lived her life. Also though, even with me crying, I gotta point out that, not running on the spot, someone did that after all, didn't they?
ごめんね。母親らしいこと何もしてあげられなかった。そんなことない。何もいらないから知らないで。
God, that's just awful. They need Max wins for this. You can't have me tearing up at such a sorrow-filled and beautiful moment and not get that.
もちろんだ。てめえがおとなしく死ねばな。
It only gets better and hurts more. That this brave man was spurred into action here to try and help, and they all followed suit.
ノジコ、ナミ大好き。生まれてきたこの時代を憎まないで。
Actually needed 30 seconds to compose myself there after that. Ooh! That hit like a truck. What a powerful way of doing it. I can't not give Max wins again for that.
こりゃ見事なもんだ。貴重な人材だ。連れてこい。
Learning that it wasn't as I thought and Nami hadn't gone to them at some point to join them just in order to free the village, but instead it was because he simply took her as a child.
金を受け取ったんだ。手を出さん約束だぞ。
I've got so much love and respect for this guy. Even here, badly injured, he's grabbing another weapon and is trying to stop them from taking her.
今助けるぞナミ。ここは父さん。
He is still standing and fighting for them. He's my favourite side character yet.
もういいよ。やっぱりいいよ。助けなくていいから。
Nami acted older than her age here, understanding that things were going from bad to worse when someone tried to help. It also nicely ties into her as an adult trying to save everyone alone now. It was clever to avoid any potential plot hole by showing how the ships had already been wrecked and thus no one could leave.
私は波を放っておけん。戦うぞ。
These backstories are just the best. In this case, because we see how tight they are as a community and how they didn't just give up and live under their rule. They really did fight.
ナミ大丈夫。怪我はなんかされなかった？
Drop in one here for what was an oddly smooth-looking piece of animation goodness there. Surprised me.
脅されたんだな。そうだろ。言いなさい。
話してよ。キナもなんだって買ってくれるって。ナミ。
出て行けナミ。もう二度とこの村に足を踏み入れるな。
To be fair to all of them, having seen this moment for myself, I can totally understand why they treat her how they do, even 8 years on. But obviously, that's not all there is to the story.
そんなことない。ナミはベルメールさんが大好きだった。
The one person who understood that there was more to what just happened was her.
アーロンを捕まえに来た海軍の船が5隻簡単に沈められちゃったの。
I've understood during these backstories, Oda is always quick to add extra helpful details, such as this. Learning the Marines did send help multiple times, but each one was beaten.
その顔見たって私笑っててやる。もう泣かないって決めた。一人で戦うって決めたの。
Getting to see the first time she turns herself into the Nami we know in the present, and it's exactly how she has been interacting with Arlong and his crew all this time. I had to show that rather than just speak over it. Her letting out her sorrow for the mission her little sister has taken on, all alone. Then that music, together made me very emotional. Bless these two dudes, I had a feeling they wouldn't be able to just walk away, but then we got those reactions too.
ざまあ見ろやね。体中傷だらけじゃない。先は長いや。1億ベリー。
Taking the time to show us an example of the determination she's lived these last 8 years with.
なんであのおっさん頭に風車さしてんだ。イカス。
Didn't expect that.
調べによると海賊相手に盗んだ宝をこのみかん畑に隠しているそうだな。
Now this is a huge plot twist because it potentially and very likely changes everything. I'm hyped and nervous.
さあ、盗品をすべて差し出せ。
That zooming in shot and how great of an end of an episode it is again! Darth Weirdo, Matthew Blancett, Mao Liao, The Element Taylor Awards, Christopher Willis, Draki, Fancy Turtle, Kepan, Minimasher, Marquez, Orkeeper, Steelers, The Epic Commander, Bird Without a Word, Brandon Creer, Brian Bayot, Cameron, Christopher Tawasa, Commander Cyrus, Doggos for Life, Dragonstorm 35, Emmanuel Gonzalez, Aaron Winters, Guru, I Am Here, Your Edvinson, Kevin Alston, Cumfroik, Carly Welp, Lisa Marie Timp, Luis Minito, Magnus, Nathan Burr, Nightly Winter, Peter Milligan, Ruby Rose, Sataka Yari, Zyonx 44, Sean, The 100s, Tiger Lily Warrior, Subito, Wiccan Faye, Ali 50, Brainless Ben, Cecilia, Cedric, Cloud Garden, Dark Lord Bloody Soul, Devon, Iso, Garrett Vermish, Gibbs, Isel Caldera, Jason Davies, John, Jafford 6263, Calnock, Kevin Nelter, Kevink 102, Knuckle Duster, Chris Madden, KY158, Carl Jones, Laxor, Laxus, Liam Gogati, Lifty, Lionel Schultz, Marvin, Malcarius, Michael Lewis, Modiverum, Mudini, Mr. Firecool, Natsu Dragneel, Nick Monaco, Nick Pell, 9028, Oliver Smiley Reacts, Q Flash, Ryan DeVirus, Sentimento, Storm 970, TRS, The Danish Muggle, Tricky Nicky, Willyman.